So Steven Spielberg has ironically been caught using a racial slur as he's trying to virtue signal to the rest of Hollywood and everyone else who likes that kind of stuff. And West Side Story is flopping, probably not because of that, probably because of a lot of different reasons, but this definitely isn't going to help. This is definitely going to isolate a lot of the fans who would have went out to see Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. And now that he's caught using this racial slur, now that he's virtue signaling, it's going to isolate a lot of the fans that would have gone to see this movie who are no longer going to go see this movie. Let's check out what I'm talking about today. Steven Spielberg refused to use subtitles in West Side Story and give English the power over Spanish. I needed to respect the language enough to not subtitle it. That doesn't make any sense at all. So when Japanese shows, when anime or manga or whatever it is, when they come to the US, when they come to, Western countries, English-speaking countries, are they disrespecting the Japanese language by giving us subtitles in English? Is that how that works? Whenever this goes to other countries, whenever this is released in China, if it does get a Chinese release, whenever this is released in other countries that don't speak English, are you going to subtitle the English parts? Is that disrespecting the English language? Or is this all just one big virtue signal? I think everyone that's watching this video already knows that this is just one big virtue signal. For whatever reason, now in Hollywood, it's cool, it's hip, it's trendy to hate on America, to hate on Western countries, Western civilization, and the way of life in Western civilization. And speaking English is a big part of that. In America, most people do speak English. There's obviously a lot of different languages spoken in America. There's, a lot of different people from all over the world coming to America for certain reasons that are being taken away by people like this. But I think we all know that subtitling a language, subtitling Spanish, isn't disrespecting Spanish at all. But also we have Steven Spielberg's West Side Story bombs at the box office after he uses Hispanic racial slur. And also, West Side Story falls flat at box office with disappointing $10 million debut. But let's go check out exactly what Steven Spielberg said, because he said a lot more than just this idiotic line. I needed to respect the language enough not to subtitle it. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. How is it disrespecting a language to subtitle it? I just can't understand Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. No disrespect to the Spanish language, but I don't speak it, That's not disrespectful. That's just me not knowing how to speak Spanish or understand Spanish. So obviously I'm not going to be able to enjoy at least some parts of your movie. I don't know how big of a part the Spanish speaking parts have, but I'm not going to be able to enjoy or even consume at all certain parts of your movie because it's just not going to make sense to me. I don't speak the language that the movie is in for those parts. But speaking to IGN in a recent interview, Spielberg said that he chose not to subtitle any of the Spanish dialogue in the film out of respect for the inclusivity of our intentions to hire a totally Latinx, right there it is, Latinx cast to play the Sharks boys and girl. And that's the racial slur right there, Latinx. People don't like that. No one who's referred to as Latinx likes to be called Latinx. And if they're all telling you repeatedly, do not call me that, because ironically, I know I said this earlier, ironically, this is way more disrespectful to any language who is used by people who are referred to as Latinx, because their languages have a masculine and a feminine. So saying Latinx is disrespectful to their language. How can you not see the irony in that? He's trying so hard to virtue signal by saying stuff like Latinx, by not subtitling his movie. He's taking away one of the best filmmakers of all time. A lot of people say he's the best filmmaker of all time. One of the best filmmakers of all time is taking away from the experience of his movie to virtue signal to people who are just weirdos. And for most of America, for most of the people who are going to consume this movie, we don't care, man. Just subtitle the movie. We just want to be able to understand the Spanish speaking parts. It's not disrespectful. He knows that. Everyone else knows that. But he's trying to appease those other weirdos in Hollywood. He's trying to out virtue signal them. That's the thing. They're trying to play this game where everyone's trying to out virtue signal one another. We saw that with Santa Inc., where they're just trying to make this extremely woke, extremely weird propaganda agenda pushing show because they're trying to out virtue signal the other shows. They're trying to out virtue signal the other movies. That's the game that they're playing in Hollywood now. He also went on to say that was a mandate that I put down to Cindy Tolan, who cast the movie, that I wasn't going to entertain any auditions that aren't parents or grandparents or themselves from Latinx countries. He said it once again. Spielberg said, especially Puerto Rico. We looked a lot into Puerto Rico. We have 20 performers in our film from Puerto Rico, or they're New Yorkican. I don't even know what that means. I guess New York and Puerto Rican, I really don't know what that means, but that was very important. That goes hand in hand with my reasoning for not subtitling the Spanish. Spielberg continued, if I subtitled the Spanish, I'd simply be doubling down on the English and giving English the power over Spanish. That doesn't make any sense. Like I said, Are you, for taking anime and putting it into English subtitles, are you giving English the power over Japanese? Or are you just making it able to be consumed by English speakers? This is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard, and I can't believe it's coming out of Steven Spielberg's mouth, who, like I said earlier, is definitely one of the best filmmakers of all time. A lot of people say he is the best. This is crazy. He's actually taking away from the experience of his movie, which I've heard some good things, I've heard some bad things about. Let me know in the comments if you've seen the movie and what you think about it. But he's taken away from the experience of his movie in order to virtue signal further. That is so crazy that that's what we've come to now in Hollywood. It's not about making good content anymore. It's about who can virtue signal the best, who can push the agenda of Hollywood the best. And I guess they get rewarded in some way for it. They have to. They must. If someone like Steven Spielberg is going as far as take away from the experience of his movie to virtue signal, and then, you know, in the same sentence saying Latinx and racial slurs like that, it's crazy. It's so ironic that, and you can't even see the irony. That's the crazy part. You can't even see it. But if someone like him, who takes so much pride in the stuff that he makes, who tries his best to make the best films ever, because he is, like I said, one of the best, if someone like him is willing to go this far to take away that much to where you can't even understand the scenes that are being spoken in the movie because he wants to virtue signal that badly, you know we're bad off. You know Hollywood probably just isn't able to come back at this point. It's too far gone whenever they've taken over people like Steven Spielberg, and you can't even understand certain scenes in a Steven Spielberg movie because he doesn't want to give English the power over Spanish. Director Steven Spielberg's latest film, this one from Bounty into Comics by the way, West Side Story, bombed at the box office, failing to even meet some of the lower predictions. The box office bomb came after Spielberg used the Hispanic racial slur, Latinx, as reported by the numbers. West Side Story grossed a measly $10.5 million at the box office in its first weekend. It earned another $4.4 million internationally for a global gross of $14.9 million. That is really bad. That's really, really bad. And like this article just said, that's even worse than the low predictions for this movie. I thought that West Side Story would actually do pretty good, especially because they're titling it, they're advertising it as Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. I thought for sure it would make a lot of money, but I guess not. I guess the interest just isn't there, and then you're gonna stop all the people that you're referring to by saying that stupid slur, that stupid phrase. You're gonna deter all of them who hear you say that from going to see the movie because they don't like being called that. Industry tracking website Box Office Pro previously predicted the film would open to at least 14 million on the low end and 22 million on the high end. However, leading up to this weekend, they dropped their prediction down to 13.2 million. The numbers had a more realistic outlook on the film, as they predicted it would earn 9.6 million in its opening weekend. Based on the film's $800,000 gross in Thursday previews, the movie had an estimated production budget of 100 million. Yeah, this is gonna lose crazy money for Disney. West Side Story is losing crazy money for Disney. 100 million budget. That is crazy for an only $14 million release or opening weekend. That's really bad. That's really bad. It's another Disney flop. Steven Spielberg's West Side Story is once again another Disney flop after they've had so many. I think the only one that's not going to be a flop is this next Spider-Man movie that's coming out Thursday. And they're not even going to make all the money from that because it's also a Sony movie. So I don't know how that split works, where I don't know how much money Disney's making. I don't know how much money Sony's making, but it's definitely not going to be all Disney's money. So they're not even going to make that much money from that. But let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. What do you think about Steven Spielberg's West Side Story? What do you think about what Steven Spielberg said, the racial slur that he said, and also why he's not putting English subtitles in the Spanish parts of the movie? It's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you on the next one.